my name is Jasmine. I'm a student reporter with Invention Convention Worldwide, and I'm excited to introduce my guest, Rhea, an 11th grader from Massachusetts. With her most recent invention, G-Dog, Rhea won third place in the 10th grade category at the Invention Convention U.S. Nationals 2023 competition. Her impressive invention is designed to protect against school shootings. Welcome, Rhea.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
So awesome that you could join us. So we'll get into the inventing process in a minute, but first tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am currently an 11th grader at Holliston High School. I attend the Northern New England Invention Convention, and I love inventing and finding new ways to solve problems.
What do you like to do outside of inventing? Do you do any clubs or extracurriculars and stuff?
Yes, so I'm currently in math club, and I also do DECA, which is a business club. And outside of school and all of this, I also am doing an independent research project currently with a mentor about large language models and inclusivity.
Wow, that's impressive. That's really exciting. So can you tell me what is this life-saving invention and that you recently participated in an invention convention with, and how does it work?
So GDog is it's kind of like it's a two component device that has an X-ray system and a smell detector. The invention works that the smell detector takes in smells constantly every few seconds, and it matches it to the smell of gunpowder or gun like cleaning oil, and through that it matches it and then detects the guns. And once the guns are detected through the smell sensor, it runs an X-ray sensor, which takes the image of the object that's going through, and through that object, if it's detected a gun, it shuts down the building and notifies authorities. So basically, this is an invention that will stop the shooter from entering the school before it can cause any damage.
Wow, that is really impressive. That's really impressive. So, how did you obviously this is like huge, super important topic. How did you come up with the idea for this invention? Uh, what was your inspiration for it?
Honestly, if I talk blankly, I was actually in the car and my family was discussing about recent shootings that were happening, and it was just devastating. All of us were just discussing how bad this is and like how we need to improve somehow. And we were talking about that there are like protests about gun laws and all that, but what kind of went in my mind is like we can protest about it, but we also need solid solutions in the current, like those are all future solutions that we're thinking of. We need solutions that we can make right now. And so as I was thinking in the car, I was thinking, how can we detect a gun? Like, how can we know that it's coming into the building? How can we stop it? I kept on thinking metal detectors, but we can't install metal detectors in every single building because it's very tedious. So I just kept thinking and thinking, like, what are things in a gun that we can detect? What are other objects are detected? And the smell just came out to me in my mind. My inspirations when I was doing the research on how many shootings are done per year and what the impact of this invention would be. One of my biggest inspiration was the Sandy Hook incident, which happened close to my house. I remember as a kid, I came home and my mom was crying. My dad was upset because little kids lost their lives because of a shooting. So that was one of my earliest memories, and I just kept thinking of that when I made this invention.
That's really powerful. Yeah, that's and what an awesome invention to be able to address such a huge problem in our country. Like, it's just really sad that that happens. So the fact that you can come up, like, we're coming up with inventions like this, especially you as we're kids thinking about these important problems, is just so cool and so important. So talk to me a little bit about your inventing process. Like, what challenges did you have and what successes did you have?
So the inventing process, when I came up with the smell idea, the process was how should I get that smell? Like what sensor should I use to get that smell? I went on the path of using an Arduino, which is like a battery sort of device which like operates stuff. And I also used a Raspberry Pi, which is like a small inbuilt computer. So when I started inventing them, I had to come up with what sensor I would use. The Arduinos have multiple sensors, like they have carbon monoxide sensors, they have like gas sensors, and many other sensors. So the first problem was, which sensor do I use? So for that, I had to research what smells were specifically in guns. So I found out that carbon monoxide is a big thing in guns. So I decided to use the carbon monoxide sensor. But as I was going on, I needed to make code for the carbon monoxide sensor. I also needed to test it because when a shooter is entering the building, the device won't be right next to the shooter. So I also had to think of range when I was making the sensors. So that was also a big thing. So for carbon monoxide, to test it, I simply used a lighter to get it working, and it was working up close, but it still needed help, like when the gun was kept at a distance or the lighter was at a distance. So that I had to improve with my code and think of new solutions. As I was inventing too, I thought it was vital to visit the police local departments to see what their laws are and like what their policies are about guns and how they operate in this certain type of situations. So discussing with them was also an important thing that I did. And with that knowledge, I was able to modify my system more. X-ray machine, I made an X-ray machine to detect guns, but the thing is with X-ray machines that it could like the object can be hidden behind other objects and you won't be able to find it many times. So that was another problem. So just thinking about where this device would be located, what the range would be, were some of the issues that I faced during the process. But I was able to overcome them by looking at sensors and looking at location. And overall, in the end of the day, I had a product. But the thing is, that's not only the end. I'm still thinking about how I can improve GDog further.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But what were some of the points that you just felt really successful while you were creating G Dogs? Like the aha breakthrough moments.
Mhm. The biggest aha breakthrough moment was when I was done coding the carbon monoxide sensor, and when I tested it, it was working. That was one of my biggest reliefs in the world, because if the carbon monoxide sensor is working, then we have the initial detection of the gun. For after that, there will obviously be modifications to it, but once that's working, at least I have a gun that can be detected using that sensor.
Absolutely. So, is there anything that you would kind of do differently with your inventing process, or in an invention convention at all? Is there anything you would change?
One thing I would want to change is how big the carbon monoxide sensor is. Currently, what's available to me is like really small. So I would love if it would be like a bigger sensor so that I could, like, it had a bigger capacity. And other than the carbon monoxide sensor, there are other like components in the gun. So I wish there were sensors that would also detect that the other senses and smells.
Yeah, absolutely. Something you could even think about improving on. Like, oh, maybe next, like we could improve it by adding this later. Yeah, that's really cool. That's like always be thinking, what's like the future for GDog?
Yeah. So the future for GDog is currently with the rise of AI. I have been thinking about adding a machine learning approach to this. So when shooters come into the building, obviously they're about to do something that's really horrendous, and I imagine that they don't have normal expressions on their face, and that they're obviously like their expressions are different. So a machine learning approach would be that it would take up face recognitions from whoever frequently comes into the building, and according to that, it detects who are the people who are not frequently here, and does this person have any suspicious like facial features that are like that might have different intentions, and according to that, it would start the detection of the gun and all of that. So that's one of the improvements I'm thinking. And Another improvement that I actually got from one of the judges at ICW was be the current model is made for like buildings to like be kept out in the front door, but one of the judges mentioned that I could make like a smaller model of this that could be like, I don't know, portable model that can be in backpacks and purses, so that when students are in school or we're in public, it can detect guns and it can notify someone that there's a gun in your vicinity, and if you want to leave, you should leave. So that was one of the suggestions I got, and I thought that was really impactful because the problem is not only in schools or buildings, it happens like anywhere, like in carnivals, music festivals, outside. So we need to think of a solution that can be used anywhere in the planet.
Absolutely. That would be really cool. It'd also be really marketable if you were able to make it more personalized, so that you could carry it around if you're just walking down the street or something. Obviously, like gun laws and things, like you're allowed to carry a gun with you in a lot of circumstances, but if you have it for your personal, like if you're someplace there's not it's not supposed to be, or you're on edge about that, you're worried about that, then that would be an awesome addition to your pack. That would be really cool. So, what did you learn from Invention Convention and just going through the inventing process? I mean, obviously, like you're competing in a lot. What's kind of like a big thing that you learned from Invention Convention?
One should like never give up in if they're making something. We're inventors, so we're obviously making stuff that has never been invented in the past. It's new, and you're always trying to figure out how to make it work, how it could start, how it can be implemented in the real world. So as I was making GDog, there were many days that my invention wasn't working, and I was struggling in that. I was thinking, is this even a good idea? Like, is this even worth it? Those questions came up many times because there were many days that it didn't work. But one thing is that you need to keep trying, because if you think that the invention is really good, you should continue with it. And obviously, your first solution is not going to be your final solution, but you should always try to make it work, because we're inventing revolutionizing inventions which will help the world in the end. So it's important to just keep trying and keep trying to make it work. Take outside help, because you're inventing something new. It's not going to be easy, but you still have to put in the work.
Speaking of outside help, did you like you mentioned that you reached out to the police to talk to them about it? What other help did you get, and how did they help you in inventing?
Mhm. So I got help from the police officers, but additionally, I also got help from this researcher at NYU with who helped me in getting my carbon monoxide sensors working. She also gave me feedback on my invention and how I could improve it or modify it. And through her feedback and knowledge, I was able to get the invention working. And I'm still in touch with her. We talk constantly on how GDoc can improve and how we can get it in the market. Since she was at college, she also had a lot of insight on what other research were happening in that particular field, with like chemistry, with like the carbon monoxide sensors and carbon monoxide itself. So that was one of the big helps that I got.
Reaching out to people can definitely be scary. So that's impressive that you reach out to that many people, to the university, the police department, to get help on your invention. That's I think really important for inventing processes, is to reach out to people and get help. So, what was your experience at Invention Convention U.S. Nationals like?
It was actually a fantastic experience. I've gone to other competitions too, like I've gone to math competitions and a few robotic competitions in middle school, and I was always a nervous wreck in all the competitions. I was always nervous, like, am I going to win? Am I like not going to win anything? Like, I used to go over there and like I was never able to enjoy myself. But when I came to Invention Convention, it was a totally different experience, seeing all these inventors from ranging from like sec I don't know, second grade all the way to like 12th grade. It was just amazing to what people can make, and the different types of problems in the world that people face. It was an amazing experience. The Henry Ford Museum was also fantastic. I had we took a tour the day before the competition, and it was really fun just knowing their process in inventing the car. So that was really fun. And then the day of the competition, once I was done being judged, I was able to walk around and look at the other inventors, and it was just amazing. I was especially astonished by the elementary kids because their solutions seemed so complicated and their problems were also so complicated. Like at their age, I would never think of inventing such a inventing such a solution in such a large scale like they were. It was just amazing watching all those kids achieve so many things in a young age.
That's so inspiring. Yeah. Out of curiosity, what first off, what was your favorite part of Henry Ford? And second off, what kind of you know how they're divided into sections? What section of the Henry Ford were you in? Was it like airplanes or automotive or
Actually, right next to my invention, there was this like device where you would crank it up and it would generate electricity. So I was on that part of the museum, and so that was a really cool part of the museum. And my favorite part was where they were showing all the different historical cars, from like cars ranging back from like the 1900s. There were like the presidential cars, they were like the original cars that Henry Ford made. So those were like really cool, seeing how the car has developed over time and what it is now. That was a cool thing about the Henry Ford Museum.
that's what I experienced when I attended. I was right next to the automotive section or in the middle of it, and actually there was this song playing on a loop and uh for one of the racing cars. And now every time I hear that song, I always think of Invention Convention. It'll be playing on the radio and it'll be like, oh, that's right, Henry Ford Museum. But so I hear that you also recently competed in the Young Inventors Program for Northern New England Invention Convention. So tell me a little bit about that and your invention in that competition.
So I just competed virtually, I would say a week ago in the this would actually be my third year competing. And so this time I'm entering the competition with an invention that tackles forest fires called faux birds. Basically, it creates a dome around, kind of like an atmosphere around fires full of carbon dioxide, which would take away the oxygen from that area, thus ending the fire. And it consists of drones and carbon dioxide spheres. So I'm looking forward to going to the Henry Ford Museum again in June.
That is awesome. And you won some awards for that project too, didn't you?
Yes, so I won the Environmental Impact Award, and I also won the ICEE Electrical Award.
Wow, that obviously you're so impressive, Ria, and you're just doing awesome, awesome things. How has Invention Convention helped you just kind of develop and grow a little bit and learn?
I remember the first time I actually joined Invention Convention was in seventh grade when I first entered the competition. I wasn't able to do it in eighth grade or ninth grade due to COVID, but when I first entered in seventh grade, it was an amazing experience. I'd never experienced it before, and that's what Invention Conventions also what brought my interest into computer science, and it made me think further what else is in this field. That's what grew me as a person. And when I entered high school, I already, like, because of Invention Convention, I already had a set that I want to go into computer science because of that experience, because of the opportunities it holds of new inventing and researching new opportunities. So that's how Invention Convention grew me. And like, because of Invention Convention, it's basically solving problems through an innovative way. So whenever I see a problem nowadays, all I can think is, how could we solve that problem? Like, what invention can I make now to solve that problem? So that's what grew me as a person to always think like, how can we solve this problem? Like, there's not only one way to solve this. Like, there has to be another way. So yeah, that's what the invention convention impacted me on.
Yeah, critical thinking. Kind of touching on that same thing. Like, why should students join Invention Convention, and why should teachers kind of bring Invention Conventions to their schools and to their communities? Why is it important?
Currently, we're the future to our world. Our world is it has problems arousing every single day, and we have to fix them. And what I think about invention convention is that it gives an opportunity for a student to think about a problem in a different way. We often think about problems and we often just think, oh, this is the solution, like this is the only solution, we have nothing else to do for it. But invention get invention gives a platform where students start thinking, wait, there is another way to solve this problem. And that's what really astonishes me, that like 1 year ago, even touching base on GDOG, like I never thought that I would make an invention that would help detect guns. I always thought, oh well, there's always people protesting for gun laws, and there's metal detectors. Like, what else can we do? But when invention convention rolled in, I thought, wait, but there's other ways we can also stop this problem. So that's one reason why inventors should come to solve problems, and teachers should introduce this in schools, because luckily I had the opportunity through Northern New England Invention Convention and Tina White, who runs the program, to show my abilities and uh, bring my skills into the world. But many students don't have those opportunities, and I know, as me, who doesn't come my school isn't a STEM school, so there are very less opportunities for me already. So if teachers are able to bring it into schools, it would be a major thing, because many students lack for those opportunities, and it would just be a major thing for them.
I love that. Absolutely agree 100%. So this is my favorite question to ask, and you've just done kind of covered this already. You're just so amazing as an interviewee. But if you had to give a peer or someone younger than you a piece of advice that you've learned from this experience, from invention convention, all your years and all your inventions doing this, what would you tell them?
When you're inventing, when you're trying to find a solution for a problem, there's not only one lens to look at the problem. There's many ways you can look at the problem. And my biggest thing is that if there's a problem, there's not only one set solution. There are multiple solutions to solve that problem. You just have to look from the right eyes. You just have to think about it a few times, and you'll find that solution that works for you. Because if a problem's complicated, then it also has many solutions to it. So just keep thinking. As this year too, when I was solving the problem of forest fires, there are obviously many solutions, and it's a large scale problem. So I at first I was also overwhelmed that can this problem even be solved using small devices, but there's no problem that's too complicated to solve without a simple solution.
So, Ria, before we go, is there anything else that you would like the audience to know about you and your journey with Invention Convention and just inventing in general?
I'm just excited to attend Invention Convention Worldwide this year, and I can't wait to see, as I grow up, what other inventions students make and what other new solutions this world gets to see.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what other inventions you make and what other solutions we see come from you. I'm so excited for that, Ria. So on behalf of all of us at Invention Convention Worldwide, thank you, Ria, for joining me, and be sure to check out our other student inventor interviews on our YouTube channel. Until next time.
Thank you so much.